And today's video is actually about a radio. It's kind of a radio review, in fact. And it's not something we do a lot of at Radio Survivor, but one of the most popular episodes of our podcast is one we did with Radio J. Allen, who publishes quite a few reviews of radio receivers on his website. And he came on the podcast to talk a little bit about radios that you can buy and that will really improve your reception of especially low power FM, college and community radio stations, and things you can do to kind of make that reception better. And every so often I do go out and buy a new radio, although I try not to do it too much. Otherwise, I'll run out of room for radios. But recently, I decided I wanted to be able to easily record Airchecks when I travel. I almost always travel with a radio because I like to listen to the radio bands wherever I go, especially if I travel abroad, but especially if I go somewhere far away from my usual Portland, Oregon home. And I was listening to some AM radio in New Jersey, and late at night, there's some little local AM radio stations near where my parents live, where I was staying. And I was wishing I could record them because it was really unique local programming, probably broker time, lease time, but the kind of stuff you just don't normally hear unless you're searching around the dial late at night. And so I was looking around for a radio that would let me to do that. And so I learned about this radio here. It's a Tivdio, and it is a model number V-115. It's an AM, FM, and shortwave radio receiver. And to me, what's interesting about it are two things. One, it will record off the radio onto microSD cards. It records in the MP3 format. And also it has a sleep timer, because sometimes I'm listening late at night and I'll fall asleep listening and I don't want to wake up 3 hours later with the radio going. So I could, if I know I'm feeling tired, I can turn on the sleep timer and have it turn off in 30 or 60 minutes. Now, when I travel, I don't expect that, I'm going to be carrying the world's greatest radio receiver around with me. I generally also don't want to buy a really expensive one because I have a propensity kind of to lose things or to break things. And so this radio can be had for $20, $25, but it got a lot of really good reviews, both if you looked around Amazon, and there's a lot of YouTube reviews of this radio as well. So I thought I would go ahead and check it out. And I've frankly been really impressed with it, impressed with both the quality of the reception and the ability to record and just how many stations it can pull in. And what's even nicer about it is that it actually has like a lithium ion battery. So this is actually kind of like a cell phone battery. Commodity batteries you can get pretty easily rather than AA's or AAA's. Now, of course, the downside is that you just can't run out to the drugstore to get a new battery, but it will recharge completely by USB. So basically, these days, it's almost, it's not a problem at all to find a USB port somewhere if you have your cable with you to charge something up, to charge up a phone or something like that. And of course you can buy external batteries for your phone as well, or you have a computer. So it's really easy to keep the battery charged. And it's also, it's a fully digital receiver. It's got a of course, a digital readout and rather than analog. And my understanding is that it uses DSP, or digital signal processing, which is perhaps why it tends to perform pretty well. So let's go ahead here and I'm going to power it up. It says a nice welcome there. Now right now I left it on AM. And this is actually an experimental Part 15 transmitter that I'm running here in my office. It's a talking house transmitter, and if you all are nice to me, maybe I'll make a video about that. But what's really nice is that it actually is a receiver where you can just dial in the numbers directly. You don't even have to dial up and down. So I can go 1190 and press the center button here. And I can get this AM station here in Portland, Oregon. Right now it's playing coast to coast AM like so many radio stations do late at night. And that's on the AM dial, and I can go over and just press this button to go over to the FM dial. Actually, I hit the mode button, which actually took me over to the card. So I'm going to hit I forgot to hit this button, AM, FM. We can go over, and just like with the AM dial, I can go ahead and punch in the frequency of a local FM station. This is our community radio station, KBOO. Which comes in nice and clearly, not even with the antenna fully extended. What's particularly remarkable about this radio is the sound quality that you can get out of this, relatively small little thing. And so I wanted to give you a sense for just how good it sounds the best I can. So I got my little Zoom recorder here, and we're going to listen to a little bit of a local station, our jazz radio station, KMHD at 89.1 FM. And even though this isn't necessarily the best way to listen, you might be able to catch some of the bass there. And that's because it has this bass port here. So if you've ever looked at a lot of different speakers, they'll have a little port in the back or in the front. Helps to enhance the bass output. And even though it's got a little, maybe 2-inch speaker, it's got a bass port here. And it really sounds quite good. So as I mentioned, one of the things that drew me to this radio is the ability to record right to MP3 onto a microSD card. And it's super simple. Once you have your station tuned in, you press the record button. And now, as you can see up in the top there, the little flashing circle means it's recording. And you just press record again to stop. And then the interesting thing is then it goes ahead and plays back what you just listened, what you just recorded there. And in addition to recording onto the SD card, you can also put MP3s on it to play back as an MP3 player. Now, I may not recommend this to be the best substitute for a real MP3 player, and that's because the audio over the headphones is really not great. It's in fact, kind of substandard. And in particular, it does not really deal well with smartphone headphones. So the kind of headphone that has the 3 conductors that you would use with your iPhone or your Android phone. It has a little microphone. It doesn't like that at all. You have to kind of push it halfway in to get the audio to work right. It works just fine with stereo headphones, but it doesn't sound great over headphones. However, the speaker sounds better than your average smartphone. It goes louder.
There are some dudes in a bar with busted heads and broken jaws. One hit 'em. China. There's some pimps in their graves who blew those pimps away.
And it has more bass. Not a ton of bass. This isn't going to shake the rafters, but you get more bass than you probably would have your smartphone speaker or even your tablet speaker. So for listening to music, either on the radio or on an MP3 in a hotel room or in a small room while traveling, it might actually be a nice alternative to having to also pack a Bluetooth speaker or something like that. There's also an 1/8-inch input, so you can plug your smartphone or an MP3 player, I guess, into it to use the speaker. It doesn't have Bluetooth, so you can't Bluetooth it in. But, it could kind of be, in some circumstances, a substitute for a Bluetooth speaker if that's the way you wanted to go and you didn't want to pack a lot of different things. Overall, I found the reception to be quite good. In terms of FM, it brings in most of the major stations you'd expect to bring in where I live here in Southeast Portland. And on AM, it does about the same. Shortwave reception, of course, is its own deal. Shortwave reception can be difficult in a lot of urban locations like where I am because there's a lot of electromagnetic interference from computers and lighting fixtures and even like LED lights in the street lamps. So I'm really not going to get into it, and it's really not why I bought this radio. Although I have been able to tune in here and there some shortwave stations, especially some stronger shortwave stations. I'll be interested to try it traveling overseas, maybe to Europe or elsewhere where there are more shortwave stations to be had, since a lot of shortwave stations no longer broadcast in North America because they don't expect that Americans or Canadians have shortwave radios anymore. They expect that we mostly listen on the internet. So there you have it. All in all, for around $20, it's hard to go wrong with this as a backup radio or a travel radio, one that you can then also use to record off the radio with pretty darn good quality. Better quality than I've ever experienced from a radio for about this price and about this size. If you want more information or figure out where you can get one, look in our show notes below here and the video. And click a thumbs up if you like it. Leave some comments. And if you're nice, maybe I'll tell you about that Part 15 radio station that I've also been playing with. Until next time, thanks for watching.